Hi everyone, welcome again to this lecture or this course about advertising, but not only advertising as such. I'm going to talk about advertising as a persuasive communication. Why I deem it important, of course, because we understanding advertising is one example of the mass communication, of course. This is also one to many, but it is not personal, it is non-personal. And to start with, I would say that the last few decades have witnessed a growth and development in the economy and the political institutions. And it is therefore uncommon not to imagine any aspect of our lives without also thinking of advertising. As a case in point, I think whether we turn on television, we switch on the radio, we open magazines, we simply talk or walk even down the street. I mean, insofar as billboards are exposed, of course. So publicity is some form of or other. Some form that surrounds us. Okay, many people, including the advertisers themselves, claim that advertising has become one of the most important things in our lives. And I think I refer you back here to Dyer, 1982. Advertisers believe that advertising in general perpetuates some stereotypes and sometimes play on our psychology, sometimes on our culture, sometimes on our identity, because those people who are trying to air their advertisements, I think, as if they are telling us you have to conform to these products, or you're not going to be socially acceptable. And in this respect, we can talk about one of the scholars of advertising, it's Leach, 1976, who points out that advertising helps us create a world of choices and opportunities, driving consumers to make analogies between themselves and images of others, because even if we talk about this psychologically speaking, we can say that individuals often have the tendency to associate the product with their identity, as a matter of fact, use them as categories of reference, or we can even say they are frame of reference that people try to interpret their lives, their values, or their I would say lifestyle with what they see on the world of television. So the first point that I'm going to talk about is to define shortly advertising. So what is advertising? Advertising is any paid form of non-personal communication and the promotion of ideas or products by an identifiable sponsor. So here, from this definition, we can understand that advertising, first of all, it is a paid form of presentation, which emphasizes that is advertising space and time must be purchased. It is non-personal, meaning that it is not a direct or personalized presentation to one individual, but to the masses. This is very important. So the second point I'm going to talk about is the techniques of persuasion, or what we call sometimes the basic strategies for constructing persuasive messages. The first thing is to talk about the language. The language is the most important element, I think, used for persuasion, plus, of course, other visuals, including some music cues, the visuals, the colors, the environment, and of course some voiceovers, be they female or male, and other things. So I shall start with putting the question: what are the basic strategies available for persuasive communicator who wants either to alter a personal orientation or motivate an audience to engage in a specific overt action. So the answer is the following. The heart of advertising lies in its ability to sway buyers to buy a particular product, as well as force them to maintain such a patronage, etc., and so on and so forth. Second, persuasive advertising refers to persuasive types of marketing communication designed to win or converts who are lured to patronize the goods, services, or ideas advertised. Kruti and Allen 2009 assert that persuasive advertising is intended to induce people to buy. This is the basic, of course, objective of advertising. To push you, to change your attitude about something, to adopt a new opinion about something, or if it is a material product, then you are obliged to buy it. Generally speaking, I can say that there are two basic strategies that advertising use to persuade the audience to buy products or services. The first strategy is called the psychodynamic strategy. This strategy is based on the assumption that both personal orientations and overt actions are based on individual psychological factors. So what do we mean by psychological factors? We mean that those factors that are basically emotional or rational. These factors, I feel like, these are what determines how a person will behave in a particular context. The second approach is to assume that people's belief and their overt actions are shaped by the context of social rules and the cultural expectations of people around them. Messages of the advertisements, of course, are to convince the receiver that the particular form of or belief or action is required by that context. This is called the socio-cultural strategy for constructing persuasive message. To explain this more, let me try to to give you an example and of course to extend on some of the definitions or explanations about this. We know that modern advertising today, or modern advertising messages, often use some emotional appeals. This has to do with psychodynamic strategy. Emotional appeals, or those based on reason, cognitive strategy, the same thing within the framework of psychodynamic. The purpose of those emotional appeals is, of course, to purchase the product. And a case in point is the following. An ad, for example, an ad means an advertisement for a car that stresses economy of purchase or operation, claiming that the brand car is the choice of those who want the lowest initial price, the best gas mileage available, the highest trade-in value, and the best record of repair costs. This is one of the examples. Far more common is the use of appeal to the emotions, which are more likely to be based on emotional needs and desires and wants. Another example, an ad may convey the idea that purchasing the product will cause others to see you as more important person. The basic formula for this is, we have a formula, is learn, feel, and do. Learn, feel, and do. Whereas in the socio-cultural strategy, it is obvious that the culture within which an individual makes decisions about actions is profoundly important in shaping his or her behavior in general. If we can put this simply, I should say that cultures shape actions and sometimes dictates it. Strongly cultural forms in societies, in various societies, and role definitions, requirements of social ranking, and the existence of many forms of social control have what we call rewards and punishments. All these are deeply understood by the majority, and compliance is the routine. The ad calls attention to these cultural requirements. We refer to this, as I have told you before, the socio-cultural strategy. Now let's move to the next point that has to do with impact of advertising on society. It is a kind of socio-economic perspective. We know that the goal of advertising is not just to tell products and services, but also to persuade consumers to act or to think in a particular way. And then we would say that the social impact of advertising is anchored on the premise that advertising shapes and mirrors society. Advertising takes place in the society by man and for his benefits. It is then a means or a mirrors of the culture and society. Normally, people say that advertisements are designed to reflect culture and appeal to sensibilities of people in a given society. But the techniques used in any advertisement, be it visual in the magazine or billboards or any other form of advertisement, and the chemistry of color used speaks volumes of a given of the societies in general. Advertising's persuasive nature makes it an influential institution of socialization. In order not to be lengthy in the talking about this, let's try to talk about the final point in this lecture or in this course. Yeah, and this has to do with the different techniques adopted in the word in advertising or by advertisers. Persuasive advertising is designed to use a variety of techniques to grab the consumer's attention, because this is the purpose. An interest to establish credibility and trust. Also, another purpose is to stimulate desire for the product and to motivate people or the consumer to act positively. To understand persuasive techniques in any advertisement, it is essential to consider three factors. First, to consider that advertising, message, and the audience, and of course, the means used. The content of advertising message and the demographic and the psychographic attributes of the audience to whom the advertising message are dictated. Second is to spot the persuasive technique employed in advertising message. And the third factor is to understand the intended effect on the target audience or the consumer in general. Generally speaking, I would cite just a few techniques used in advertising. And the first one is what we call we have many. I can cite emotional appeal, number one. Number two, promotional advertising, bandwagon advertising, facts and statistics, and of course, unfinished ads. And we have whistle words, endorsements, complimenting the customers. And the last one, I think, we have two more, I think, is the ideal family and ideal kids and patriotic advertisements. Let me explain to you this. So, number one, emotional appeal. This is a technique that advertising often uses and which is done in order to help with the help of two factors: needs of the consumers and fear factor. So most common appeals most common appeals under the need are you have the need for getting acceptance, need for security, the need for I think for fear from accidents, fear from death, fear from getting this. Either advertising said, either you are going to buy this or to do this, or you will die. I think we have a clear, good example today with the coronavirus. So promotional advertising, the second technique, that involves giving away samples of the product for free to the consumers. The items are often offered in the trade fairs, promotional events, and ad campaigns in order to gain attention of the consumer. The next is bandwagon. Bandwagon, I think it is a famous technique in advertising, which involves convincing the customer to join the group of people. Since all the people are doing this, why not me? So you have to do the same thing. And advertising also used another technique of facts and statistics. These are concerned like proofs or evidence, use numbers as a real example to show that how good their product works, because I think sometimes even if we use the numbers, it is the rational way of convincing people that what I'm advancing or saying or airing on the television or in a magazine is true. Sometimes some ads or advertisers resort to some techniques like called unfinished ads. What is this technique? It is just a play with words, saying that their product works better, but don't answer how much more than the competitor. The whistle words technique is when advertisers don't say that they are the best from the rest, but they don't also deny that there are other products which are really competitive and highly difficult. I think we talk about comparing Sunsilk with, for example, other forms of products like the shampoo. I think this, you say that this product has Sunsilk, for example, between brackets, reduces the hair fall, whereas the other ones doesn't say, it doesn't stop, I think, the hair fall. Endorsement is another technique, which means that advertisers use celebrities to advise their products. And the celebrities or star endorse the product by telling their own experiences with the product. And you have two mere examples, that of Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi, who managed to advertise a lot of important products. Then complimenting the customer, another technique. Here the advertisers used punchlines which compliments the consumer who buy the products. And for example, we have some advertisers who said, because you are worth it, then I'm going to give you this as a chance. And the last one, I think, is the one that is called Ideal Family and Ideal Kids. And in this respect here, the advertisers using this technique show that families of kids using the products are happy to go lucky family. Either you buy this, then you are going to be very happy, and so on and so forth. Yes, I forgot the technique of bribe, for example. Bribe is a technique that is used to bribe the customer with something extra. You have 30%, for example, 40%, or more of the product that is given to you for free. But you have to buy this one T-shirt and get one free. Yes, lots of important techniques that are used by advertising. So thus far, I would I think conclude by saying that advertising is praised but also criticized by a lot of critics in their own ways. Advertising has many positive impacts along with negative pictures. The advertised products are not always the best products in the market. There are some unadvertised products also that present we have some unadvertised products, and we have also some other products that present good, interesting one. But advertising in general helps increase value for the product by showing the positive image of it, which in turn helps convincing customers to buy it. But in general, it is one of the examples of the consumer society. Thank you very much for your attention. See you in another video.